Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the Incredible Edibles Meet the Farmer webinar. My name is Ailish and I am Program and Events Manager here at Agri, and I run the Incredible Edibles program. We know this has been rescheduled a couple of times, so we are super excited to have everyone join us today. We'll be joined by Stephen McCormack of McCormack Family Farms. Stephen has been growing a multitude of salad leaves and herbs in the Royal County Meath for the last 40 years. And this is their first year supporting the Incredible Edibles program. So we're super excited to hear from them too. So Stephen, I'll hand you over there and enjoy, guys.
How you doing, everyone? My name is Stephen McCormack. I'm Managing Director and owner of McCormack Family Farms. I suppose, the beginning was my father's idea at first in 1984 to leave his job and start growing some vegetables. He came from a farming background, which was mainly sheep and dairy, but in his earlier times, he was actually a salesperson. I myself at that stage was 12 years of age, so I was probably just like you and doing my last year in national school. And really from that day on, when he made that decision to start growing, I got very involved and fell in love with what he started. And I suppose I'm hoping for future generations, like my own sons or daughters, that the same thing will maybe happen to them. Maybe not. Life can change very quickly. But for the last 30 years, I've been involved in building the business. Like I said, in 1984, we started off growing some brassica crops. Now, brassicas is cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, and some lettuces as well. And we started off with 1 acre. Today, we do 500 acres. But as the story went on, over the years, and as I grew up, I went to Warrenstown College, which was a degree course in horticulture. And of course, at that stage, after finishing, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a grower. I fell in love with the land, everything about what the land can do for us as humans and produce good, healthy crops. And obviously, it was a lifestyle choice as well, which probably isn't the easiest of lifestyle choices. It can be difficult. It can be long hours. It can be early mornings. But when you love what you do, them things don't matter. As the years went on, we grew the business to about 100 acres. My father took over mainly the sales end of it, and I looked after the growing. My 2 younger brothers were involved, and my mum was involved. So it was very much a family business as such, that we were the only staff, and we had to work with it until we got to a position maybe of being able to get new people in to help. And that went on for probably the guts of 15, 16 years. In the year 1999, we started our first zones of spinach and some coriander and flat parsley. And we seen the demand was there. We seen the chefs, especially chefs in the restaurant hotel trade, really wanted this and really wanted an Irish product. Seeing the chefs, especially chefs in the restaurant hotel trade, really. For a few years, we slowly built the business. It definitely became a way of life for us. Just we knew from what our earlier days of growing cabbage and broccoli that these new varieties of fresh leaves was definitely the way to go. There was really probably nobody else in Ireland at the time doing it. Everything was probably imported, and that gave us a real opportunity to kind of grab it by the neck and make it happen. And we've built the business now to where we are at, like from 5 of family to over 100 people working here on the farm. And growing can be a very difficult time. As you know, Ireland doesn't always have the best of weather. Some years, like last year, we had a fantastic summer, and that was great for the country, but it wasn't great for me because it meant that we had no rain, no water, so we had to do an awful lot of irrigation. And without water, your crop will not grow. It's just dead duck in the sand before you even start. You have to have water. But to give you a little bit of background on exactly what we do, our main crop, I'm going to just turn the camera around so you can see. Our main crop Hope everyone can see that there now. Our main crop is spinach. You might ask why. I suppose, firstly, it was the first imported product that we came across into Ireland in the early 2000s, 2001, 2002. And we kind of seen it as something that no one else was growing. How hard was it going to be? We didn't know at the time, but we started trying it. And we started off small, with even possibly just a couple of 100 kilos a week, which doesn't sound like a lot. But in today's sales, we're selling nearly 30 ton. That's a lot of spinach leaves. Probably the estimate per leaf of 30 ton is about 50 million leaves. But it's our biggest product, it's our biggest sales. It's the one that everyone goes for. Things have changed over the last 10 years, where a lot of these crops we were growing and was being imported was kind of for colour and taste and decoration. And so that is still there, but not as important as what we're all eating spinach for another healthy baby leaves is because of the health benefits from them. And which is good for us, of course. We're still very much at the beginning of our season. Our first sowings, I'm actually standing in the field that we actually did our first sowings in the 10th of March. And it's approximately about a 5-hectare field, which is just over 10 acres. And the spinach I'm actually showing you at the moment, I'll show you now. It's about a week off harvest and still a little bit small, but I'd say this day next week we should be in full production. To give you a bit of what we do or how we do it. In March, when we start first thing we have to do is plough the ground. And generally the tractor will come in and it'll have a plough on the back of it and it turns the sod over. And the next step after that, then we have to wait a week or so until the ground, actually the soil dries enough. And then we come in with a big machine to what we call rotivating. So it turns the soil around and leaves it nice and smooth and flat. Then we'll apply our fertilizer. And then we have another machine that comes in that makes the bed. Now, if you see, the bed is that. That there is your alleyway. That's your bed. And that's the other alleyway. And the alleyway is where the tractors will drive down. After we've done all that, the next step then is to sow. So what we have then is obviously a sower machine. We sow 24 lines, 2 centimetre apart, and it goes down each bed one by one. And the general rule we have is about 6 million seeds per hectare, or 12 million per acre. And it sounds like a lot of seed, which it is. The reason so much seed is used is because we want to keep the leaves, the plants nice and close together, to keep the leaves nice and small. After that, water it. That's only if we don't have rain. Now, we have had no rain now in the last 3 weeks. So all the crops at the moment are starting to get a little bit thirsty, which means we're having to irrigate everything from sowings to crops like you see here today to keep them moving. If the crop gets thirsty, when I say thirsty, it means there's no moisture in the soil, the plant will go backwards and it'll turn a different shade of maybe yellow, which then isn't saleable. And that can be a massive loss if you allow that happen. Other lines that we do is we do rocket. I'm sure some of your dad and moms will know this, maybe know some yourselves, but it kind of have a little peppery taste and kind of hot and spicy. It's generally used, you know, people have a tendency, I think Ireland's taste buds have changed. We now love hot things. Rocket is one of them salad leaves that we can produce and sell. It just adds a nice flavour and a bit of spiciness to any salad or sandwich. The other big crops we do then is herbs. We do a lot of coriander, not everyone's favourite herb, flat parsley, curly parsley, some rosemary, thyme, and then in the summertime, midsummer, we'll do basil. I'm sure you all know basil from your pizzas and your bologneses. We grow that though in a greenhouse or a glass house because outdoors just not warm enough for us. Generally, when all these crops are then ready for harvest. We have machines that will come in and harvest the spinach and all of the baby leaves and the herbs. You can imagine the volume of people we would need if we could do it by hand. It's just not feasible. You'd be looking at hundreds of people. So thankfully there is machines out there that will take 3 or 4 people to run and to harvest the crops. The important thing, next step then, is when we harvest, we have to get to the factory because it has to be cooled. We can't pack warm product. If you pack warm product, you know, anything from 15 to 24 degrees, and you pack it into a bag, it'll just deteriorate within 24 hours and it's no good to nobody. So it has to be cooled very quickly to 3 degrees before packing. And the next step after that is the packing systems, where we have 4 big machines that the produce runs through, where we inspect the product before it goes through to what we call a multi-head and then a bagger. And it'll form a bag and drop the product inside. And then we pack in the boxes, label it, traceability, and ready for delivery to our customers. After that, our next step then is our transport. We have 4 Arctics, which holds 26 pallets per lorry, and every night they leave the farm for delivery all over Ireland. I think in total we probably deliver to 26 counties every night, 7 nights a week. I know, being a farming program, you're probably mad to hear about machinery. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any of the tractors here, but to any of them young kids out there who are into their tractors, we're Massey Ferguson. Yeah, I'm probably getting thumbs down now from a lot of John Deere guys and New Holland guys. All Massey Ferguson we use, from the smallest to from 80 horsepower to 280 horsepower. We have 15 tractors in total that is used on the farm. And obviously that takes 15 people, and from all the other machinery, from rotavators and plows and discs and all these sorts of things that we need to have on the farm is done by ourselves. And the other thing important to mention, we can't grow all year round in Ireland, unfortunately, either. We are seasonal because of the weather in Ireland, really from probably November to March. It's wet, it's cold, so we can't produce. So our season starts sowing from March and finishing in September, early September. And then our last harvesting will be probably mid-October, 3rd week of October.
Thanks, Stephen, for that. We just have a few questions here that I might call out to you from some schools across the country. So second class in Sculmurra na Trócaire in County Louth have asked, do you have any pollinator habitats on your farm?
Yeah, we have a couple of sites. We have 5 beehives in total on the farm. And normally what we do is we keep them in what we call farms. We have 3 or 4 sites which would have maybe 100 acres or more of where we work, where we grow. We try to put a pollinator in every one of them. And the other thing we do is as well, we leave 6-meter headlands. Now, that means that it's a headland that's from the hedge to where we actually grow. We allow all the wild grasses and flowers produce as normal there. And that helps,
great.
that does protect, you know, insects and bees and birds. So yeah, it works really well.
Amazing, yeah, and we know how important biodiversity is, and of course, without the pollinators, we wouldn't have food to eat. So that's
Exactly,
great.
yeah.
Another one that's come in is 4th class in Clondroid National School, County Cork. Ask, what do you do to protect your crops from pests and disease?
Good question. It's getting more difficult. We found, especially when it comes to pests, you know, if you give them a habitat to live in, then they won't come looking to my crops. Do use pesticides. I can't lie. I'm not going to lie. We do have to use pesticides sometimes, but very, very rarely, to be honest. I think last year was twice. We actually had a spray where we got an insect on the spinach leaf, and we it just wasn't going to go away, and we have to use it. The most important thing for any crop is to keep it healthy. It's like I kind of explain sometimes, you know, your mom and dad might give you vitamins to take to make you keep you healthy. If you keep your plant healthy, the same thing for them. They protect themselves, the same as our immune system protects us when we keep ourselves healthy. It's the same for a plant, and that's what we do. And for that reason, we don't have as much problems with diseases or insects.
Yeah, and I suppose you have to protect the crop that you're growing. And I suppose that leads me into another question from junior and senior infants and first class in East Knockbride National School in County Cavan, who ask, is farming difficult? So what are some of the hardships? And you've kind of mentioned it there, maybe weather or pests.
Probably weather is probably the most difficult thing. If you get too wet weather, you can't work your soils, but your crops will grow well. Hailstones is a massive issue. Last year we lost 40 acres of crop, 5 minutes of hailstones, and there's nothing you can do. It just happens so quick. Crop is destroyed. And that has happened probably the last 4 or 5 years where we've lost crop because of hailstones. Drought, dry weather, hot weather it does make life difficult for the plants.
Any extreme kind of, or one of the other, too wet or too dry.
Yeah, exactly. They're the biggest issues.
Absolutely. And I'm sure maybe some schools have witnessed that after leaving their plants in school over Easter. Hopefully everyone's incredible edible plants are thriving. But no, that's fantastic. What question will we go with next? First to third class in Northampton National School, County Galway asks, what is your favourite vegetable?
I remember we're growing salads, but I'm going to ask that as a vegetable.
I'm conscious of that.
Yeah. As a vegetable, I love my spuds. I love my turnip. I love my broccoli. As a salad, I love spinach and I love rocket. And there's another product we grow as well called pak choi. I really like it.
Lovely.
But if as a veg, it has to be spuds, I'm afraid. Yes, that's my number
they're so
one.
versatile, aren't they? You can't go wrong. And everyone in schools are growing their Sammy spinaches and Lisa lettuce too, so they should definitely relate to what Stephen is doing at McCormack's Farms on a much larger scale. I'll just see, do we have any other ones quickly in the Q&A? How are we for time? We have a few minutes. Do you have a scarecrow?
Me.
Yes.
Sometimes I'm going around the field blowing the horn of my Jeep, frightening crows off. Yes.
Trying to get the birds away.
Yeah, probably me.
I
work well at it.
I think you might have mentioned this, but third and fourth class of St. Mary's National School, Cove, County Cork, asked, what is the easiest crop to grow?
Good question. They're so diverse, all the different products that we grow. Probably the brassica varieties, which is like the cabbage broccoli varieties of baby leaves, is the easiest. Spinach can be difficult. Rocket can be very difficult. It's very specialized in what you need to do to get them to grow properly. To be honest, there is no real easy one. Everyone has its own temperamental problems that you just have to keep an eye on every day. And that's all you can do. But there's none of them easy. None of them easy.
And so I think you might mention as well, but St. Joseph's National School in Colleen's, County Sligo asks, what is your busiest time of year on the farm?
From really the middle of April right through to September, when the sowings finish. Things ease a little then, and that's when I take my holidays in probably October. So really from mid-April to mid-September, it's 7 days a week, 60 hours a week. It's just, and that's just because of the business we're in.
Just the winter months, I suppose, would be quieter, would it?
Yeah,
you wouldn't.
Wet, too cold. Yeah. These crops don't like really wet or really cold conditions. They're really just a summertime, spring, summertime, early autumn crop.
Brilliant. I'm just trying to see if we have one more question before we have to log off. What crop takes the longest to grow?
Good question. Most of our crops grow between 24 and 33 days, so they're quite fast. There's one product called Mizuna, which is kind of a cabbage family. It can grow within 20 days. Spinach averages around between this time of year, 33 days, to come to June time, and July and August, 24 days. So yeah, time is probably the slowest. The herb time, it takes the guts of nearly 4 months to grow.
Perfect.
Hence why we only have it at Christmas time. Yeah.
Ah, okay. I see. Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much, Stephen, for your time. And thank you to everyone for logging on and joining us as well. I suppose just before we go, we just want to remind you that Healthy Eating Week, which is task 5 of the project, is coming up from May 9th to May 15th. And we would love for you and your school to get involved, interact with us. You can tag us at AgriAware. We'd love to see what you get up to for it, if you take on the 7 a day for 7 days challenge. And yeah, we hope you will help us to celebrate it then. So again, thanks everyone for your time, and we'll see you again.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.